Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Successful Mentalist podcast. My name is Aidan O'Sullivan and I'm here joined by Ashley Green, and together we're going to be sharing with you the tips, tricks, methods, strategies and approaches that have allowed us to become successful mentalists, and hopefully in doing this you'll be able to apply this knowledge and become a successful mentalist yourself. Now, before we go any further, I must admit that we are currently in the lockdown in the UK. We're on week 7, I think. The days have all gone into one, but hence the difference, and the people on YouTube will be able to see the difference that we're recording in completely different places. Our hair's a mess and we've all grown virus beards. It's mental. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about our background. So before I do anything, I'd like to quite simply introduce my good friend, Ashley Green.
Hello, thank you, Aidan. So, I want to just start this by explaining why we decided to set up this podcast. We had the idea of just sharing the tips and tricks we have, and just sharing that to you guys to help, obviously, as Aidan said, improve your mentalism. And of course, we know that there's quite a few magicians, mind readers, mentalists, whatever you want to call them, out there at the moment, obviously giving you advice. But when you listen to it, it's advice which maybe has come from what they used to do 5 years ago or something. With this podcast, it's going to be completely different, because neither myself or Aidan are currently earning £1 million a year. We're nowhere close to that.
I wish.
But, exactly. But we can share, obviously, valuable and inside knowledge into the industry, which we've learned from where we are currently. We're going to be giving advice to show you how we've got to where we are, from building our businesses from the ground up to establish ourselves as performers in our area. But we're also going to take you on a journey. So, for example, say next year we book a theatre tour. We're going to be telling you guys through this podcast the things that we learn or are currently learning, and things that we're experiencing day by day in that process. So you're going to be getting almost like a live feed of the insight into our business, our mentalism, our performance, everything around that. So I just think it could be very unique what both myself and Aidan have set up. And it's, if it proves useful to you, then that's brilliant. We, of course, set it up because we done it actually started a bit bizarre, this one, didn't it, Aidan, for our Instagram Live?
It was a bit of an interesting
technical issues we had with that. We planned to do it when we had the lockdown. I think it was your idea, wasn't it, Aidan?
Yeah, I think initially what we had planned is that over the course of a couple of weeks we'd been getting a bunch of different questions on loads of different elements of from our audience, about our businesses and what it's like in the world of magic and mentalism, if you like. And so we thought, right, let's put out some feelers and we'll do an Instagram Live. And we thought we'd just go live and we'd answer some other questions, and then we'd save that and we'd be able to post it and share it to people like that. Well, that was the plan. Instagram didn't particularly want to play ball as such. The way Instagram decided to treat us on that day was by repeatedly shutting down our live stream after about 3 or 4 minutes. So after about 7-8 attempts at trying to sit and do these live streams, we decided to scrap it, and instead we opted for a slightly different approach, and we recorded these questions on quite simply a Zoom call. We just sat on a Zoom call, answered the questions back and forth to each other, and then released that to the people that wanted the information. I don't know if you want to throw in any other bits to that, Ashley, at all, but that was pretty much the process. We kind of just decided to share that extra stuff.
It was essentially, like you say, we just asked people what they want to know, like if they had any specific questions in regards to business, sales, booking gigs, how to perform mentalism, like literally anything they could ask us, and we put it together and it was really, really well received. We had quite a few people watch it, and it was all positive feedback we got, and that's why it kind of sparked this idea to do a weekly podcast called The Successful Mentalist, because our thoughts behind it, if we can help people out, improve their mentalism, and I think like you've put on the website, a rising tide raises all the boats.
Well, exactly that. That's the iconic JFK quote, John F. Kennedy. A rising tide raises all the ships and lifts all the ships, and it's just kind of. I just find that fascinating, and I think what we can do through this sort of platform is our best by sharing our knowledge, current knowledge, active knowledge with you. And I'm just excited to see where this goes. So I think, but like before we actually do anything, we want to share a little bit about our backstories, just so you can kind of understand our approach to mentalism, rather than just having to presume or just imagine what we're like. So, providing that's cool with you, Ashley, we'll just chat over our sort of backstories, if you like, how we got into the magical arts or something like that. So, what are our superhero origin stories? I think this is the coolest way to say it, like, with now superheroes apparently. Don't know why it just kind of came about like that. But anyway, how I got into mentalism was quite interesting. I didn't take a traditional route. I mean, most mentalists that I've spoken to have kind of gone from a transitional period of magic to mentalism, either through the magic set that they got as a gift, and then that kind of evolved from there. Instead, about 10 to 12 years ago, I started looking into the world of hypnosis and suggestion, and I started using these techniques and just trying like minor suggestion, like the magnetic fingers and just things like that, just on friends, and it was going really well. And then alongside that, I had another interest in the world of pickpocketing, which, when you think about it, is two devilish skills all being tied into one, which I actually didn't do. I never thought of combining the two. Would have made my job an awful lot easier. But instead, that was kind of where I learned. I kind of got these base skills and I evolved, and I'd always loved magic. I've always enjoyed watching it, and I always used to think that if you just really willed a playing card to disappear, it would just vanish. And then if you really willed it to appear in someone's pocket or inside someone's wallet or something, it would just appear there. Yeah. That didn't work at family gatherings and things, and I made a right tit of myself, to say the least. I had these demonstrations. I'd try and vanish these cards, and I'd try and do these impossible things, and it just wouldn't work. And then I actually learned that you can actually learn methods to do these magical things, and that's kind of my interest. I kind of took that transition into magic. So alongside this suggestion and this pickpocketing background, I'd kind of learned the fundamentals of magic. And then it evolved again as I watched Derren Brown. Now, a lot of mentalists probably look at Derren Brown in the same way and see him as the Holy Grail and admire the ground he walks on. And in fairness, I still do that. The guy is a genius, and he's pioneered in a completely new wave of magic. So I think to some degree we've all kind of got to just accept that in and of itself. But from seeing him, I kind of had a natural interest in psychology building up as well. So it kind of all just seemed to coalesce and just tie up nicely together. And then I was able to transition from sort of magic towards more mentalism and the more psychological element of magic, to the point that nowadays I'm obviously a mentalist. I perform as a mind reader, hypnotist, influencer, whatever a mentalist is classified as nowadays. But I think what makes my sort of mentalism different is that for a good chunk of it, I'm actually using genuine psychology and genuine psychological tells. I think it keeps me on my toes, and it's just something fun to play with. And I know that obviously Ashley's fully aware of this, like the Witch Hand game, the simple 50-50. I play that for real. I was using various methods and gimmicks and all of that, but I put that aside in favour of genuine psychological tells. But yeah, that's kind of my backstory. Suggestion and hypnosis as a small child, then pretended to do magic, then learned pretend magic, and then saw Derren Brown, and then also loved psychology, and tied that all up into one mess that I'm in nowadays. But what is it from your perspective, Ashley? How did you get in? You've got to try and top that, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know if I can top it. I don't know. I think we've both got different stories, haven't we?
Yeah. No, but I think it's interesting though, because what happened from your background and what happened from my background is that we both came onto the magic scene, if you like, through completely different aspects. Could you go a little bit further on that?
Yeah, well, I did get a magic kit when I was younger, and I lost parts from it. I still got it. It's under the bed somewhere. But that's not where it really started for me. When I was at secondary school, was part of a local youth circus. And I'd learned the usual things: spinning plates, unicycling, juggling, tightrope walking. And it was that fascinated me for years. I absolutely loved anything remotely circus. And I think it was because there was a very young magician practicing card tricks in the club at the time. Circus teacher. I was just showing him a couple of card tricks because he'd done a little bit of magic on the side at the time. And there's an interesting story about my circus teacher, Paul, so bear that in mind. Make a mental note. I'll come back to that in a few moments. So, yeah, he showed this guy, this kid, a few card tricks at the time, and then he showed me a card trick, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. But then it gave me, I would say, an in regards to talking to people, because I was a very shy child, and for me, I think why it stuck was that because doing a piece of magic, a simple card trick, it would enable me to have a structured conversation with someone, because as any of you guys, well, most of you guys who are watching this, you'll know that a trick has virtually the same beginning and virtually the same end, and you can pretty much predict exactly the whole conversation throughout. So in terms of having a conversation through doing a trick, it makes it a whole load easier. So I think that's why it stuck. It was quite a few years later that I got into mentalism, and then again, maybe that stuck because being autistic, I always wanted to understand how people think, so maybe there was an element to it there. But I'd say it was really when I met Aidan and a mutual friend of ours who actually introduced us together, a chap called Mitchell Kettlewell. We all kind of met up, and we all had this online chat, and we met for the first time. What was it, about 3 years ago in Blackpool, was it, Aidan?
I think it was actually closer to 4, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. It's been a while. It was a
while ago. So yeah, it went from there, and I just fell in love with mentalism. I remember the stage when I was kind of in between magic and mentalism. I would go out to a gig and I'd try and force myself to just do mind reading, and it was difficult. And after finding some people around me, like Aidan, like Mitchell, and a couple of other friends, who just finding them who do the same thing, it enabled me to have people to bounce off, get ideas, give me advice, give me criticism, and then that just generally helped me grow. I then later joined a local magic bar called Houdini's Magic Bar, which is just a brilliant place for performing. And this was years after I obviously finished circus school, and both myself and my old circus teacher got the part as magicians there. So we were like reunited years later, which I think is a nice little story.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know that myself. That's quite an interesting story.
I've not told many people that, but it's nice, isn't it?
There's something quite satisfying about that.
It's like we've come all full circle from like the first thing he ever saw me, taught me, to them both working together. I think it's brilliant. And then it was just through working there that working at the bar kind of defined my character. There's, I think, a total of about 23 magicians now working for the Magic Bar Houdini's, and I just wanted to stand out. So when I started, I was obviously a mind reader, but I didn't know which angle I was going to take it. And I think because of the environment I worked in, because of wanting to stand out, I went down more of the psychic route. So now what I do when I perform is typically predictions, readings, connecting with people on... I'm basically giving a psychic-like experience to everyone watching. So it makes me stand out from the other magicians who are doing their stuff. And it's worked. I get bookings because people look at me and go, "Oh, you're very different. We want to have you at our event." And that's exactly what I wanted. So I think that's why it stuck. And that leads me to where I am today, from my story of coming from circus skills to learning a card trick, and now being I guess a psychic entertainer, if that's what it is. Well, I mean, it is. I give a psychic vibe when I perform. So yeah, for the sake of understanding it through this podcast, we say psychic entertainment, because that probably sums it up best, wouldn't you say?
I'd say so. Just a quick question. RE circus stuff. Can you ride a unicycle?
I can.
Can you
have a unicycle in literally the room next to this one. And
wow.
I haven't ridden it for a while, but it's like doing a double lift. You never forget how to do it. I'll have to bring it to Blackpool, or something ridiculous.
Just so you're aware, I now need video footage of you riding said thing, because I've actually got one myself. I've had it for years, just could never do it.
I tell you what, we'll get it, and at some point we're going to upload it onto either the Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook page for the Successful Mentalist. So keep out on there, and then you'll probably see me riding a unicycle at some point.
There's a lockdown challenge I wasn't expecting. That's brilliant. Well, I think just to go back to what you were saying. Oh, actually, there was a story that you had about your circus teacher. Was that the fact that you came full circle, or was there a...
Yeah, the fact that we came full circle from like learning magic at his circus school to then obviously going to Houdini's. So I just think that's a nice little thing.
Again, yeah, I genuinely didn't know that, so that's actually quite interesting.
It's because Aidan doesn't pay attention. He just switches off. He's like, I've said my bit. I'm relaxed. I'm done.
But I don't think you've actually ever told me that story before, just to clear that up. But yeah, no, there's also something else you said that about being different, and I think that applies to a lot of mentalists. Or a lot of people, they kind of enjoy the magic field, and they either enjoy watching it or they enjoy kind of participating in that kind of thing. But for them, it's just slightly different, and that was kind of the same for me. I mean, obviously, I had this interest in magic, and I thought this is great, and I'd had this other side interest in psychology as well whilst I was doing this magic. And then obviously I saw Darren, and that was that just tied it all up, and it just kind of like the penny dropped, and I thought, well, that's how I can be different. I can do this kind of magic instead of sponge balls and card tricks. Like, maybe it's not that clear cut, but well, maybe it can. I don't know. Anything's fair game nowadays. But that was kind of my reasoning for the shift as well. And I think we are going to talk about the shift in an upcoming episode. I can't remember whether it's next week or the week after, but we have got an episode talking about that sort of transition. The more I think about it, the more I think it's actually next week's episode. And I realised that I wasn't supposed to say that on this podcast. So there you go. You've got a free teaser at what's coming next week for you there. But we've also got something that you said, be someone special and try and be someone different. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on where that sort of comes from?
Yeah, so it's actually when we were speaking to Uri Geller, he mentioned about being someone special, and we've included that in our some information about that in a free PDF which you guys can download, and you can get it on our website by typing in www.thesuccessfulmentalist.com/free. That's /free, and you can download this free PDF on there. It tells you how to download it, and it's called 10 Tips to Improve Your Mentalism. So if you go on there after this podcast, you'll be able to get that straight away today, which is just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, these are sort of 10 key tips that we sat and thought about. Like these are 10 instant tips that you can take away and apply immediately into your magic and your mentalism performances to elevate them to the next level already. That honestly, I think it's so helpful to actually get these on paper so we can see them, and it's been good to sort of clear our minds, and we just want to share that with you. So that's a completely free PDF that you can download from our website. All you need to do is quite simply join our mailing list. We'll send you information about what we've got planned and all of that kind of stuff. You'll find more details on our website, as Ashley mentioned, on thesuccessfulmentalist.com/free. free. That's free as in FREE, not 3 is in the number 3. It's free stuff. Free. Everything that we're doing right now is free. You've got free blogs, you've got free social media content. But I don't know if you wanted to throw out all the plugs, Ashley, and we'll wrap up the episode here.
Not really. I don't want to throw out any plugs. I just want to say that to you guys listening or the ones watching on YouTube, this is the first episode. So I'm not going to be here preaching about anything to plug. You know where to find us, The Successful Mentalist. But all I will ask is one thing. This is episode 1. And we want to try and help as many people as possible, just giving them advice. So if you want to head over to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter or YouTube by typing in The Successful Mentalist, just engage with our stuff, share it with your friends, because honestly it would mean the world and it would help both myself and Aidan out. If you want to check out the 10 tips PDF, like I say, go on the website, and like Aidan says, download that. But honestly, if you guys want to support us and just help us out a lot, sharing our stuff on Facebook or Instagram and just engaging it would just be absolutely brilliant. But of course, next week, stay tuned, because Aidan's let slip that it is transitioning from magic to mentalism. So I think we're all wrapped up here for this week's episode. So we will see you next week where we talk about that. We'll see you soon, guys.
Catch you next week.